morning, everyone.
Good morning.
As the Rabbi mentioned, we are all very happy to be here celebrating this Siyum of the completion of Tractate Eruv. The Rabbi mentioned it's also one of the most difficult tractates, and I can certainly attest to that, having now gone through the entire thing. There's a lot to learn and a very complicated subject. We started this tractate about, well, pretty much 105 days ago, so a little over 3 months ago. About 3.5 months, and the tractate followed right after the tractate on Shabbat, where we learned the 39 melachot of Shabbat, the various activities that we could not do on Shabbat, and of course one of those activities is carrying in a public domain, and that kind of leads into what we learned here in Tractate Eruv, where we start out initially, we talk about, it starts out with the word mavoi, which is an alley. And so it starts out and talks about an alley and what are the requirements of an alley in order that we can carry within that alley so that it's not the same as a public domain or Reshut Rabim. And there are various requirements that go onto it. We learned that you have to have, that the alley should have an entrance that's designated either by a side post or a crossbeam in order for it to be considered an alley. And at that point then you can do certain things in order to be able to carry there. We also talked about what happens when the alley is breached in certain areas and what happens to it. We also then started talking a little bit about the various courtyards and what people could do to join together within a courtyard and turn that into an area where they could actually carry things in and out of their houses into the courtyard, back and forth, and what's required in order for that to happen. That's an Eruv Chatzeirot. We also then learned about our the Shabbat boundary, which is how far we're allowed to travel on Shabbat. Essentially 2,000 amot from the place where we started Shabbat, which is considered our Shabbat residence. We learned there's of course more complications involved in that. For example, where you measure from if you're in a city, you know, and so forth. In order to determine how far you can actually travel. It went on. Of course, this was the Techum, which is the border, is a very interesting concept, as I said, and we learned how we can actually create an Eruv at the edge of the Techum, or the boundary, and which would allow us to then travel an additional 2,000 amot beyond that boundary. 2,000 amot is approximately 3,000 feet, so you figure that it's about 2/3 of a mile approximately. So ultimately, with the creation of an Eruv, we're allowed to travel an additional 2,000 amot, therefore giving us about 1.1 miles total that we can travel, assuming we set an Eruv. And we ended the tractate talking a little bit about knots that can be tied on Shabbat, how the Leviim would be able to repair their instruments when the Beit HaMikdash was there on Shabbat. As we know, of course, it's forbidden nowadays without the Beit HaMikdash to even listen to music on Shabbat. And so we learned that then, of course, where they did have music on Shabbat with the Beit HaMikdash, and the Leviim were responsible for doing it, what would happen if a string broke and how they could retie it and so forth. Again, I want to thank the Rabbi Weisblum, very much for taking us through this very, very difficult tractate. And I know, reading many of the comments that we've gotten online, a lot of people feel very much the same way. He's taken a very, very, very complex subject and made it understandable in an enjoyable way of learning. It can be very complicated. I know the Rabbi has a little bit of, I guess it's in his genes a little bit. His father is has been teaching Tractate Eruv for, I believe, about 60 years. Is that correct, Rabbi? 50, 60 years. So he's gone through it more times than we can imagine. Of course, he was also responsible for the Eruvin in northern Israel. So I think we have a lot of zechut here for the Rabbi teaching us this. So again, thank you, everyone. I enjoyed studying with you, and I'm looking forward to the next tractate as we're starting at Tractate Pesachim.
Score.
Bokato, Shalom. Today is a very joyful day for me and my colleague because we just completed the Tractate Eruv, which is one of the most difficult tractates I have ever studied. But thanks for Rabbi Moshe Weisblum Pinka for his ability to clarify the text I was able to grasp this tractate of Eruv. Of the sage said, if you have heard the Torah from the mouth of a scholar, let it seem to your ears that if you have heard it from Mount Sinai. Studying Eruvin I was able to learn about the prohibition against transferring object from private domain to public domain and the Sabbath. Most of the tractate deal within the law of transferring object in the area which are private domain, and is a biblical level to which the law of transferring object. The sage assigns certain prohibition of carrying. Three type area were prohibited: private domain, not fully enclosed; private domain which shall not be enclosed for residential purpose; and the private domain which is more than one person have the right to use. So I want to encourage everyone to join us every day from Monday to Friday from 6 to 7:50 in the study of Daf Yomi, which will enrich your heart and bring blessing to you and growth in learning Daf Yomi. This has been very helpful to me, which it has helped me to able to learn to observe the Sabbath in a better way, and also to able to improve my spiritual life. So please come and join us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yasher koach.
I'd like to wish a very, very special mazel tov to Rabbi Weisblum, and I'd like to thank you, Rabbi, for your guidance and helping us through this difficult tractate, and also to David Siyum and Gilbert Gonzalez, who just spoke so wonderfully. And also, before I reference one of the portions of the Gemara, I'd just like to wish, this week in our synagogue was a very big week for birthdays, and I'd like to wish a very happy birthday to our president, David Sleon, whose birthday was last week, and to our Shamash, Bruce Friedman. And my mom's English birthday is today, and my wife's Hebrew birthday is today, Tesvav Thomas, so very, very special birthday. And I'd like to dedicate the Siyum in honor of everybody, all these birthdays. I'm going to focus on one of the aspects of Eiruvin, specifically the tchum, the boundary. When it talks about to establish a city's tchum, its boundaries must first be defined. And on Daf Nun Beis Amud Beis 52b, there's a question in the Mishna: how do we extend the boundaries of cities prior to determining the tchum? If a house is recessed and the house protrudes from the city's perimeter, or if in a city surrounded by a wall, a tower is recessed and a tower protrudes from the wall, or if there were ruins there 10 tefachim high extending from one of the city's corners. And then it goes into talking about bridges or tomb buildings in which there is a dwelling place. And these extended tchum measure opposite them across the entire side of the city. Having defined the boundaries of the city, the Mishnah now explains how the tchum areas are drawn. We make it specifically the tchum boundary surrounding the city like a square tablet, so that one gains the additional area in the corners. And I just thought it was interesting. The reason I picked this Mishnah was when I was talking about the tomb buildings, it made reference to Ma'arat HaMachpelah in Hebron, where many couples were buried there. Hebron, it talks about the city, also the city of the following four couples with Adam and Chava, Adam and Eve, Avram and Sarah, Yitzhak and Rivka, and Yaakov and Leah. And all of these couples were buried in the vicinity of Hebron in the double cave, that's what it's referred to. And the tractate goes through many, many different applications which apply today, and it's very, very difficult. It's very precise, and that's one very, very important thing about the Gemara, because it's the precision of the Gemara helps us guide through exactly what we need to do. And God willing, very soon we'll have an Eruv built in Annapolis, and more people will be able to carry on the Shabbos, and then, God willing, may we continue in Masechet Pesachim, the next Masechta which we just started learning, and then many more, and God willing, at the next Siyum Hashas, may we all be there celebrating, and God willing, may David and Rabbi Weisblum be on the dais at the Siyum Hashas, and we'll all sing together. Thank you.
Thank you.
Wow, thank you so much. I want just to conclude the Hadran. For sure, Tractate Eruv was a huge challenge, but you all have a very important part of this mitzvah because you are here so early in the morning, and we study together and we ask questions, so it gives us a great chizuk. So at the very end, it's called Hadran. I'm going to read it first in the Hebrew and then some of that translated to English. First we recite the first paragraph 3 times. Hadran alach maser Eruvin v'adrach alan natan lach maser Eruvin v'datach alan v'nideh sheminach maser Eruvin v'nideh sheminan v'ba'al ma'aden v'ba'al ma'deate. We say that we're going to revisit this tractate, and this is like some type of commitment. Hadran alach maser Eruvin v'adrach alan natan lach maser Eruvin v'datach alan v'nideh sheminach maser Eruvin v'nideh sheminan la ba'al ma'aden v'la ba'al ma'deate. It means that it's applied also the concept of afterlife, that it's a continuation of study. That's part of what we have in the study yesterday of the 6th chapter of Pirkei Avot, that said that the only thing that escort person after a burial, it's the good deed and study Torah. הדרן לך מסכת עירובין והדרך לנו נתן לך מסכת עירובין ונתן לנו לשם לך מסכת עירובין ושמינן לה בעל מעדן ולא בעל דעתי. I'm about to read a paragraph of 10 names of Bar Papa. Bar Papa was a great sage. There are several versions, one to mention his name. The simple explanation is because those 10 sons, every time throughout the Talmud, you see any confrontation, they are those who brought together the reconciliation of disputation. So they have a special zchut of bringing peace. But there are other explanations as well. יהי רצון לפניך אדוני ולעבודנו שתהיה תורתך ומלכותך בעולם הזה ותהיה עמנו לעולם הבא. חנינא בר פפא, רמי בר פפא, נחמן בר פפא, אחי בר פפא, אבא מריו בר פפא, רפרם בר פפא, רכיש בר פפא, סורחה בר פפא, עדה בר פפא, דר בר פפא. The next paragraph we ask God for help in study Torah and perpetuate Torah throughout future generation, as well as all those who view us on YouTube. הערב נא אדוני אלוהים דברי תורתך בפינו ובפי יד עמך בישראל, ונהיה כולנו, אנחנו וצאצאינו וצאצאי צאצאינו וצאצאי עמך בישראל, כולנו ידי שמך ובדודי את חולך לשמה, מאויבי תחכמני מצוותיך כי לעולם לי ליבי תמיד בחוקך למען לא אבוש, לעולם לא אשכח בדודי כיוון חיתני, ברוך אתה אדוני למדני חוקיך, אמן, 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 סלע ועד. Next one is a special word of grace and thanking God for being part of people who study Torah and not wasting our life in vanity. מודים אנחנו לפניך אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו ששמת חלקנו מיושבי בית המדרש ולא שמת חלקנו מיושבי קרנות, שאנו משכימים והם משכימים, אנו משכימים דברי תורה והם משכימים לדברים בטלים. That we wake up and they wake up, we wake up with Torah and they wake up to watch the news and to see what's going on with the Yankees. אנו עמלים והם עמלים, אנו עמלים מקבלים שכר והם עמלים ואינם מקבלים שכר. We have a labor and they have a labor. We get reward even for the effort, they get a reward only for the result. If you deal with sales, they'll tell you only what you sell, you get a income. But in the Torah study, even you sit in the shiur for the entire class and you do not understand anything, still you neshama understand and you still get reward for being there. אנו רצים והם רצים, אנו רצים לחיים הבא והם רצים לבאר שבע שנאמר ואתה אלוהים תורדים לבאר שבע ונשארים מלמעלה וחצויים ואני אפתח בך. Last paragraph is asking God for help, not only to complete more tractate, but to spread the word of Torah to others and to the future generation. יהי רצון לפניך אדוני אלוהי כשם שזרתני לסיים מסכת עירובין ותעזרני להתחיל מסכתות מספרים אחרים לא יסרבם מאוד ומאוד לשמור ולעשות וכן כל דברי תלמודך באהבה וזכות כל התנאים והאמוראים ותלמידי חכמים מאוד לי ולזרי, לנו לזרנו, שלא דמו שספר התורה מפי ופי זרים מזרע זרעי בעד עולם, יתקן בי ותלכך ותנחה אותה ושבילך תשמור עליך והכיסוי יגיד לשיחך כי בי ירבו ימיך ויוסיף לך שנות חיים אורך ימים בימינה בשמאלה עושר וכבוד. אדוני עוז לעמו ייתן, אדוני יברך את עמו בשלום. This is a very special Kaddish. It's a Kaddish that we said after a study Torah, and mourners are welcome to join me. יתקדש
ויתקדש שמי רבה, ויעמד יהיו עתיד
תחדה, ולחיה מחיה, ולעסקה יתמון לחיי עלמא, ולבני גרדל ושלם, ושכלה להיכלי בגבה, ולמעיקר פולחן המוכרע מן ערק, ולעטבה פולחן המשמע לאדרי, וימליך קודש הבריך ומלכותי יקרא, ויצמח פולחני בקרב משיחי, וחי יחון ויומי חון וחיי לכל בית ישראל והגלה ובזמן קריב ונועמי, יהי שמי רבא מבורך ויעולם יום ויומיה, יברך וישתבח ויפאר ויתרומן ויתנשא, יתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה ושמי קודשה בריחו, אלא מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תשבחתה ונחמתה ואמירן ברמה ונועמי על ישראל ועל רבנן ועל תלמידי הון ועל כל תלמידי הון ועל כל מן ויעסקים ביורייתא דיבי אתר הדין ודיבי כל אתר ואתר יהי להון ולכון שלמה רבה, קינה וחיסדה ורחמים וחיין אריכין ומזוני רביחי ופורקנה מקל מבוא דיבי שמיה וערב ימרו אמן יהי שלמה רבה מן שמיה וחיין טובים עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו אמן עושה שלום במרומיו ובלחמיו יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל וימרו אמן.
Thank you all for being here. Thank you for leading us, Gil, David, Rabbi.